Hi everybody, welcome back to Mirrors. Last time we left off, David had just woken up from a horrible nightmare in which he killed somebody, but thankfully that was just a bad dream. So we are currently on our way to Heathrow Airport to join the rest of the band Vision so we can embark on our European tour. I'm going to load a save state to just after that, because it turns out right where I left off, the very next thing that happens would be the game loading the next chunk of game, so I'm just going to skip past that and save myself a little bit of loading. Or editing. Just a little bit. Heathrow Airport, Terminal 4. The band gathered in the waiting area of Heathrow Terminal 4. The waiting area was packed, and they couldn't find a good place to sit together. There were very few people their age, and none of them seemed to be among their fans. It's finally happening. Our first European tour. I could barely sleep last night. Not me. I got home, had one last drink, and then slept like a log. I'm doing great. Come to think of it, you had quite a few drinks yesterday. Are you sure you're okay? Yeah, just a little headache is all. You look pale, David. Something wrong? I just had my usual nightmare, you know. That again? What's so bad about it, anyway? Is it worse than my accent? I'm in the streets I always see in my dreams. I start running. Someone wants to kill me, a shadow. I'm scared, I keep running. Before I realize it, the streets turn into a scenery I'd never seen before. I run through the unfamiliar streets. Suddenly, I'm running through the same street as before. I keep running along the same street. In my dream, I keep repeating the same actions over and over again. What if I never wake up? Suddenly, I see an old castle in the distance, a castle I'd never seen before. That's when I wake up, but I remember every detail of that castle. It's burned into my memory. David considered sharing his dream where he killed a man, but he decided against it. I had no idea you had those kinds of dreams. Are you sure you never saw that castle anywhere? I'm positive. Personally, I think you're just upset by Claire's... you know. That's why you're getting those weird dreams. I wouldn't worry about them. I think so too. Maybe you're right. You're gonna have a breakdown if you keep worrying about everything, David. Be more like me. Forget about the bad stuff and enjoy your life. You're a special case, Andrew. Hey, David. We've got a pair of fine young ladies looking our way. Dude, Andrew, we're in an airport, not a nightclub. God. Two young women came closer. They appeared to be fans of Vision. And one of them had a very smart hat. Eee! Look, it's Vision. There's David, he's so cool. There's Martin, too. They must be leaving for their tour. Let's get their autographs. You're going on a tour, right? We're definitely coming to your London performance. I've been a big fan since your debut. Good luck with your tour.
David? Alan? May I get your autograph? Martin, can I shake your hand? Oh, and can I get your autograph?
What am I, chopped liver?
Oh, sorry, Andrew. We didn't mean to forget about you. We want your autograph, too.
You're just saying that to appease me. Oh well, the things we do for our fans. Come on, give me the pen. So, who do I make it out to? David felt a little better after looking at Andrew and their fans. Yeah, laugh it up, David. At least someone's feeling better. Oh well, this is also part of the job. What you mumbling about, Andrew? Nothing. Shut up. Sorry about him, he's just like that. Two people were monitoring Elenovision's movements. One of them, mostly referred to as Chief, was Clark. He was a detective and a former Interpol agent. The other was his assistant, Vince. His father was Japanese, while his mother was British. Looks like they're leaving soon.
This job's great, Chief. We just have to keep an eye on Susanna Ling, right?
You got it. Travel expenses are all covered. It's basically a free trip around Europe. What bothers me is that I have no idea who the client is. Well, the money's good, so I guess it doesn't really matter.
We're just keeping an eye on a woman. We're not doing anything bad.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that line was going to repeat. You see what I mentioned last time about how non-obvious it can be who's supposed to talk next sometimes, right?
I hope so. Keeps things interesting, right?
Oh, they're embarking. Let's go, Vince.
Wait for me, Chief.
And so they left Heathrow Airport. And reached Orly Airport without incident. No stand attacks, thankfully. Paris. They were scheduled to rest one night at the Hilton Hotel in Paris, and travel by charter bus the following day. Thus, David decided to call it a day early. He took some sleeping pills and laid on the bed, but between what happened in London and the upcoming concerts in France, David had trouble falling asleep. The sleeping pills made him drowsy, but after a while he couldn't bear staying in bed. Instead, he decided to go outside and enjoy the night in Paris. He entered one of the taxis in front of the hotel. Where to? Without a clear destination in mind, David quickly started thinking of famous landmarks. The Eiffel Tower? Sure thing. The taxi drove along Paris, headed towards David's destination. David looked at the night scenery of Paris flowing from the taxi's window. This section has a lot of French words that I'm probably going to bungle pronouncing a little bit, and I do apologize for that in advance, but I am trying my best. The taxi took David in front of the Eiffel Tower. During the day, it just looked like a tower of iron, but it felt completely different now thanks to all the lights. He considered getting to the viewing platform to have a full view of Paris, but he wasn't really in the mood for sightseeing. He just wanted to get out of his room. David wanted to see another landmark. He stopped another taxi. Where to? Strangely, the driver looked identical to the one before. David considered his options. The Hill of Montmartre? Sure thing. He arrived at Montmartre. Due to the presence of many young artists, the shops stay open until very late in this area. Also, fun fact, Eric Satie is from here. The Hill of Montmartre was where Saint-Denis had been executed. David was looking forward to seeing the windmill, but unfortunately he was unable to. He would have wanted to visit the old-fashioned town he always saw in pictures, but the path was full of slopes and stairs. He couldn't afford to exert himself so much just before the concert. I don't think it matters which one of these options you pick. It's the one to proceed the plot will show up eventually. The Latin Quarter? You want to see the Pantheon, right? Got it. The taxi left David right in front of the Pantheon. The driver explained to him how the word was Greek for Temple of All the Gods, and that famous historical figures were buried inside. David did not feel like he would get any sleep that night, so he decided to visit the best places Paris had to offer. The Arch of Triumph? Sure thing. I really doubt a French taxi driver would say Arc de Triomphe in perfect, not in perfect English, in English in general. That would just sound weird. Maybe that's just me. It's the Arc de Triomphe. Arch of Triumph just sounds weird. Anyway. This is the Arch of Triumph Square, but I think you'd enjoy walking through the Champs-Élysées. Anyway, here we are. David looked over the roundabout of Place d'Etoile, the square surrounding the Arch of Triumph. He felt somewhat overwhelmed by all the roads linking together. He considered going to the Champs-Élysées, but he didn't feel like walking with all those cars coming and going so close by. Well, we've already seen the Eiffel Tower. The Opera House? Sure thing. David arrived at the world-renowned Opera House of Paris. The taxi found a new customer and left. Though he didn't enter himself, David heard that everything inside was gorgeous. Not just the stage, but also the lounge, the corridors, even the ceiling. There were many young people in front of the opera house. They didn't seem to be guests. David decided to leave before someone recognized him. I've been to an opera house once. Took a field trip to New York in college and saw the Metropolitan. That was pretty cool. Highly recommend going to a fancy concert hall at least once if you can. The Vosges Square? Sure thing. I think that's how you pronounce that. I practiced these words before doing this recording, just to have the pronunciations in my head, but I don't remember this one for some reason. This is one of the easier ones, too. at least to my untrained tongue. When David arrived at the square, he was impressed by its splendor. There was a reason the royal family of the 16th century would spend their time here. Surrounded by red brick buildings, the square felt like the courtyard of a royal palace. It would seem the garden was once closed to the public, but it was currently teeming with tourists. That was enough to bring David back from his 16th century dream and into the real world. You want to go to Rouen? Sure thing. Actually, I think it's closer to Rouen. There are two syllables in there. David looked at the night scenery of Paris flowing from the taxi's window. The taxi left David in Rouen. The place was virtually empty. Even though he was sweating, David had goosebumps. He didn't know why. Maybe it was because of the statue of Jeanne d'Arc. There's a whole statue about that game? Wild. It was the place where Jeanne d'Arc, the Maiden of Miracles who fought in the 100 Years' War during the 15th century, had been executed. She fought for the sake of her country, following the orders of her god, but the Inquisition, jealous of her fame, sentenced her to death. She was burned at the stake and joined her god in heaven. As he walked around Rouen, David noticed a building with an open gate. For whatever reason, he felt compelled to enter, and so he did. David walked through the open gate and followed a path leading to yet another gate. After crossing the gate, he found himself on a path next to a stone wall. Suddenly, the voices of countless people came out of the next gate. I think this is French? David, we're in Paris. Whoa! It's coming this way! David gestured frantically, as he didn't understand French. I need to get out of here. David ran towards the town to get away from those countless voices. Ah, it's getting closer. I need to run. David noticed an alley and hurried in there in order to hide. David ran through the alley, trying not to make any sounds. The alley led to a dark, gloomy square. Is this a square? The narration just said this. Pay attention. There was something, or someone, standing in the middle of the square. It's too dark to make it out. What is that? Once he got used to the darkness, David could just barely make out a figure. There's someone tied to a pillar. There's a lot of firewood below them. I don't understand. David took a single step forward. Suddenly, a man came out of the shadows, throwing a lit torch into the pile of wood. The pained scream of a woman came from the flames. The pile of wood instantly burst into flames, as if it were coated in oil. There was a person amidst the fire, a young woman. Tied to the pillar, she was unable to escape the flames. She could only writhe in pain. She's being burned at the stake. David witnessed the grisly scene in a daze. When he came back to his senses, hundreds of people were surrounding the blazing pillar, all shouting together.
Death to the witch! Death to the witch! Death to the witch! Death to the witch!
To David, their words felt like a curse. Death to the witch? The witch hunts? France? Burning at the stake? No way. Is she Joan of Arc? Am I in the past? No, it can't be. David felt like he had lost his mind. They're way too agitated. I can't stay here. I need to run. David took a step back, attempting to run away. At that very moment, the entire crowd turned his way. Damn it! They noticed me! David had never felt so terrified before. I have to find somewhere to hide. I don't care where. David kept running from the crazed crowd. The path ahead split into two. So, this section is actually kind of a maze. You can spend a fair bit just picking different options and wandering around in circles, but in the interest of a little bit of expediency, I will show you the quickest path to the end here. The path curved left and went downhill. David kept running. The path ahead split into two. David was at a loss as to which path to take. The path curved to the left. David could feel the bloodlust in the crowd's screams. He was at a crossroads. He could still hear the crowd behind him. David had to make a choice, fast. David took the path going downhill and kept running, before the crowd could reach him. At the end of the slope, he reached a square. There was something placed in its center. However, it was not the same square from earlier. There's something here, too. It's not another stake, is it? After a closer look, he realized that it was not a stake. It was a guillotine, a device for executions. A guillotine? There's nobody in there. Are they going to kill someone soon? Yes! You! Right behind David, a man answered his question. Startled, David turned around. There was a man in the dark, wearing priestly garments. Where did you... Who are you? Heretic! Tonight you shall be judged by God. Why, you ask? You know the answer very well. At his words, countless people emerged from the shadows. He was surrounded. There's so many of them. Why do you want me to die so badly? I get it. This is a dream. I just have to wake up. There was no escape. Right then, David felt something happening inside his body. Loud sound warning? It's really obnoxious. You may want to turn your volume down for the next few seconds. I'll tell you when it's okay to turn it back up. My head, it hurts. I feel like I'm burning. Something exploded inside of him. And then, he was assaulted by an incredibly pleasant feeling as he felt his consciousness fade away. Okay, you can turn your volume back up. Before completely losing consciousness, David saw him. A man had grabbed the Inquisitor. The man then dragged the Inquisitor towards the guillotine. That man had the same face as David's. Was it all a dream?
No! Don't do it!
David placed the Inquisitor's head on the block. The Inquisitor was trapped in the device. Seeing the Inquisitor's face contorted by fear, David started laughing. And then, the blade dropped down. The moment the Inquisitor's head parted from his body, David's eyes jerked open. He was feeling terribly confused and scared. It was a dream. This time I saw a woman sentenced to death, a guillotine, even another me. I'm really losing it. Now back to his senses, he realized he was in his hotel room. Both his pajamas and the bed were drenched in sweat. Now that he was aware it was all a dream, he started feeling a different kind of dread. David sat on the bed and glanced at his watch. It's still 3 a.m. I was hoping these nightmares wouldn't follow me all the way to Paris. My body feels heavy. Maybe it's the nightmare. I'm not getting enough sleep. David took a beer from the cooler, drank it in one gulp, impressive, and went back to sleep. The next morning, David gasped at what he saw on TV. It was enough to make his skin crawl. The news was talking about a grisly discovery in front of the Cathedral of Rouen. A priest had been found dead, with the head removed from the body. The missing head had been reportedly found impaled on the minute hand of the Grosse Horloge, the astronomical clock of Rouen. The hands of the Grosse Horloge were stuck at 3 o'clock. Rouen was known as the town where Joan of Arc had been burned at the stake. David felt like he was seeing a continuation of his dream.